After fumbling the largest lead in modern political history, performing so bad that Pierre lost his own seat, it might actually be Poilievre for Pierre. They had hoped and thought that they at least denied the Liberals a majority government. But as more and more recounts have come in, the Liberals have gotten closer and closer and closer to the 172 mark. They're currently at 169 in Parliament. This leaves the Liberals in a position where they could get a majority government with just 3 MPs becoming Liberals, known as floor crossers, for an outright 172, or get 2 floor crossers and elect Elizabeth May as the Speaker of the House, who has already said that she would work with the Liberals against Pierre, and said publicly, when asked about this exact same thing, "I've never hidden or made any bones about the fact I think I'd be a good speaker." This has left the Conservatives, but mostly Pierre Poilievre, to completely change up his tone. The way that Pierre Poilievre and his campaign manager, Jenny Byrne, ran his campaign was incredibly divisive. Conservatives loved him, but everyone else hated him, leading to a massive amount of people to come out for the Liberal Party from the NDP, Green, and the Bloc, just to spite Pierre. And since the election loss, it does seem that Pierre Poilievre knows what he did wrong. Every press conference since has had an incredibly more conciliatory tone. Pierre even said that he would be open to actually voting for Liberal policies and proposals if they aligned with the Conservative beliefs, or for certain things that were in the best interest of Canada, which is sick, as opposed to how he was running the Conservative Party previously, which was to just vote no for everything the Liberals proposed. But it still might not be enough for Pierre to keep his job. Inside Pierre Poilievre's caucus, new reports have been coming out from anonymous caucus members that are demanding that his campaign manager and longtime confidant, Jenny Byrne, the woman I mentioned earlier, be fired. After a loss, heads have to roll, said one Conservative. If Jenny Byrne stays, we won't be able to support Pierre, a second added. If there's no change between now and January, the caucus will lose patience, said a third. There's only one head that needs to roll, and that's Jenny's. You don't realize how she treats everyone like garbage, one Conservative source said. The growing discontent from inside Pierre Poilievre's caucus is also mirrored in the more moderate half of the party. The Conservative Party became what we know today when the moderate progressive Conservatives and the hardline Reform Party merged, creating the Conservative Party of Canada. Some of the more hardline Conservatives were quick to bash the progressive Conservative premiers, mainly Ontario's Doug Ford and Nova Scotia's Tim Houston. One Pierre Poilievre loyalist even tweeted out a meme of Doug Ford ripping off his shirt to show a Liberal logo and bashing him as soon as he won his safe riding. And more of the progressive Conservatives to come out against Pierre, like Pierre's predecessor, Aaron O'Toole, who has done multiple interviews now talking about the loss and put out this banger before he got rid of it. All of this has led to the Conservative caucus adopting the Reform Act, which allows them to do many things, but most importantly, hold a secret ballot to kick out Pierre Poilievre as party leader without him knowing about the results. Me personally, though, I don't think Pierre Poilievre has to worry about the 2 upcoming leadership reviews he has. I think the Conservatives will probably keep him on. The real election he has to worry about isn't even the by-election that a sitting MP caused by resigning so that Pierre Poilievre could be allowed back into Parliament, which is looking like Pierre will win. But with each new day, it's starting to become less and less of the case, as Alberta separatism, the one issue Pierre Poilievre is completely against and said as such many times, continues to rise, and how he's starting to be seen as more and more of an outsider in Alberta, as he is literally not allowed inside of the Parliament. No, in my opinion, the real election that Pierre Poilievre has to worry about is the general populations election. Even if Pierre survives the multiple of heavy challenges he has facing his way, I don't know if his strategy will be enough. People tend not to forget in politics, and again, 60% of people hate Pierre Poilievre, meaning it's going to take a lot from Pierre to get people to actually be open to liking him. This leaves the entire Conservative Party asking, where do we even go from here? And broadly, I think they have 2 paths forward. But before that, consider becoming a member, like the Have a Good Day podcast. The first actual YouTuber I've shouted out because of this. Seriously, check out his content. I like going to his unlist. I like going to his playlist and then going to all his old videos. Those are fun. He should make them public. I'm being serious. Anyway, let's continue with the video. See, this election was interesting because so much changed, but it wasn't enough to really move the needle in any way. But also, if the current trends continue, then the next election could have a major shakeup. Over the election, we started to see the social creditization of the modern Conservative Party. Obviously, the Conservatives are still socially conservative, but the populist right is absolutely on the rise. I don't think that Pierre Poilievre's policies would have actually helped out workers because of reasons I listed in this video specifically. But I do think that we are starting to see a conservative apparatus that cares slightly more about blue-collar workers than it used to. And as this shift has taken place, we really see the complete progressive conservative moderate evacuation to the party of Mark Carney. The more country club conservative that you would have seen with Brian Mulroney or George H.W. Bush, who is infamous for being this kind of guy. And both paths address this. But both of them involve moderating to the left somewhat. This current mixture of words and actions just doesn't seem genuine as of right now. The party could either fully endorse the populism that it flirted with in this election, abandoning the mindset of how can we be right-wing and pro-worker that led to them fumbling the most important issues, like their scrapping of the GST on houses, but finding niche issues like the travel deduction for blue-collar workers that Pierre talked about, and instead just thinking, what can we do that is good for workers? Who cares if it's seen as traditionally right-wing? Because it can't be. Or it could come out as progressive conservatives outright. Multiple times in the conservative plan, it would mention a bill was liberal nonsense or something like that. In fact, it'd only be actually hard to find a liberal bill that they mentioned, but didn't take the opportunity to make fun of the liberals, which makes the few times they mentioned bills without making fun of the liberals kind of noteworthy. No matter what Pierre Poilievre has said, he's absolutely changed his opinions over time. He has consistently voted against anything that would help unions throughout his entire career, which makes it all the more fascinating that the conservative plan mentioned enacting legislation that Pierre voted against or repealing legislation that Pierre voted for. And call me naive, but I do actually think that Pierre has seen the error of his old ways. I do think that he genuinely cares a little bit about workers now, at least a little bit, or some semblance of Grinch-styled empathy from a politician happened. But if he wants to go about this route, he has to learn to commit to it. I would love to see a conservative party that understands workers, that is caring and compassionate with the needs of the common man, and doesn't use them like they have been known to do. And if Pierre completely switches up his personality and nails the going all in on the social creditization of the conservative party, then I do actually think he has a shot. But he also doesn't have to do that. Canada showed that it does want a moderate conservative who can just govern and lead. Doug Ford destroyed Bonnie Crombie in the Ontario election, and I already told you how badly, by the way, Bonnie Crombie and Doug Ford, I don't think we could make two more stereotypical white bread Canadian names if we tried. We cooked so hard with those two. And I already told you how badly the Conservatives fumbled this election against the apparent centrist God King Emperor Mark Carney. So I can absolutely see how, considering he just lost the election, Pierre Poilievre might not be willing to go with that strategy, considering it's incredibly risky. Pierre could genuinely start to become more of a centrist or a progressive conservative. More of that country club-esque conservative like Doug Ford. But still, this is most definitely the strategy he will go with, but I don't think that it will work out for him the best. If he only kind of chills out, he will absolutely still seem like the same guy from last time, and I think broadly Mark Carney will destroy him again. But if he really comes out as a moderate, then I think a large amount of his base, especially considering in this hypothetical his seat would be in Alberta, would abandon him, moving to the People's Party of Canada, or maybe feeling completely isolated and ignored that they become outright separatists, which you could largely ignore because every riding in the West is almost completely dead loyal to the Conservative Party to a fault, which I mentioned in this video. But it is incredibly likely that just like in previous elections with the right-wing vote split, that some seats would be picked up by the Liberals or NDP. Both of these strategies have their pros and their cons without even getting into the fact that it might not be possible to thread these needles I've laid out. Broadly, the Conservative Party has a lot of self-reflection to do, but it has to do that away from Pierre. They need to figure out what they want to do and commit to being pro-worker or moderate progressive conservatives, and when they do that, they need to think logically about who the best person for that strategy is. Coming at this like the NDP does, where they ask themselves like, did he do a good enough job, will get them nothing but despair, and we saw that quite clearly. But thinking linearly, who the best for each option would make both these strategies much easier to actualize. But that brings up the question of, is the loyalty that conservatives have to Pierre that of the Republicans in America? Right after the election, I watched Mr. Sunshine Baby, the 4-time champion of the Room Temperature IQ Award and the undisputed champion of seeing how many marbles he can stick up his nose. After the election, he started communicating with another third of the brainlet Avengers, and immediately they started talking about how good of a job Pierre did in this election and how it wasn't his fault, which is ridiculous. If it's not his fault, he's the party leader. Whose else would it be? All of this reeks of the same type of cult-like following that Donald Trump has been able to conjure up in the States. But I don't actually think that Pierre has the same type of flair that Trump has, thankfully. Number one, Pierre lost his first election and Trump won his. Meaning when Trump lost the next election, he was still able to come back and conjure up some sort of, nostalgia for when they won. But if Pierre came back, I don't think he would automatically be the front runner. Like Trump kind of was. But if the Conservatives do cuck out to Pierre and have complete loyalty, they will probably win the next election. Already we've seen a trend of them not doing this, so it would be pretty hard to kind of build that spotless air of complete dedication like down south to Trump. But if they started meat riding really hard, they would absolutely clean the next election. But I'm here to tell you, Conservatives, that you shouldn't do that. If you want to believe I'm saying this because I'm a liberal psyop and I just don't want you to win, that's fine. But just giving extreme loyalty to one person politically doesn't work at all. You can put all your faith in Pierre, but you will become a cult. And political regimes that were founded on complete loyalty to the leader, you will eventually come to see the negative effects of this in the long term. All right, now play the really cool, sick outro.
All right, hey, I need you all to help me out here. up a little bit. So I am supposed to be doing a collab with Unbiased Historical Forum. I gotta promote this video, but I forgot to do that when I recorded it. I've been up for 48 hours, and I'm starting to hallucinate. You know when you see a notification, and like you just missed it, so it goes up, back up again? That's what keeps happening. Every time I look at my phone, I see that. I saw a hand come out of my roof. I'm really begging you here, guys. I'm on my wit's end. I need you to do me 2 favors. I need you to go and subscribe to this guy. And I need you to go watch this video. I need you to. I need you to. Don't subscribe to me. I don't want that. I want you to watch this video and subscribe to this guy so I can go to fucking sleep. I am literally hallucinating at this point. That's how sleep deprived I am. Look at my eyes. Try to look at one of my eyes. Look at the bags under that. Help me out here a bit.